I am Iris Vale, 28 years old, working as a graphic designer at a creative advertising agency in Boston. Ever since I moved out of my parents' house 3 years ago, I've been living independently in a one-bedroom apartment in the Back Bay district, enjoying the freedom and tranquility of life on my own. That changed on a sweltering August evening, when my sister Lily dropped her 6-year-old daughter Emma at my doorstep before heading off to Colorado with our parents for what was supposed to be a 2-week family vacation. The doorbell rang with an urgent, almost violent persistence, like a sudden thunderstorm breaking overhead. Peering through the peephole, I saw my sister Lily's face plastered with that artificial smile of hers, standing beside her 6-year-old daughter Emma, who clutched a worn unicorn plushie tightly in her small hands. The late summer heat still lingered in the air, making the hallway feel suffocating and oppressive. I opened the door and was immediately hit by a wave of cheap perfume mixed with the unmistakable scent of perspiration. "Hey Iris, you are home." Lily's smile was so artificially bright it seemed almost distorted. "I need a huge favor. We're heading to Colorado for vacation about 2 weeks. Emma's staying with you for a few days." Her words weren't a request, they were a declaration. Before I could even open my mouth to respond, she shoved Emma forward with such force that the child stumbled into my arms. Simultaneously, she dropped a half-worn Disney princess suitcase at my feet with a loud thud. "Thanks, I'll bring you some Rocky Mountain chocolates when we get back." Without waiting for my response, she turned and practically ran down the hallway, her high heels clicking against the floor with such sharp urgency it sounded like a frantic escape. I didn't even have the chance to utter a single "No." Emma trembled in my arms, her small face pale as porcelain, her large eyes brimming with tears that she fought desperately to hold back by biting her lower lip. She looked up at me with an expression of pure terror and helplessness. My phone buzzed, illuminating the dim entryway. It was a text from Lily. "We're off. Emma is all yours." Below the message was a photo of my father Knox's hands gripping the steering wheel of their SUV, with Interstate 95 highway signs visible ahead. A familiar wave of nausea rose from my stomach. Just 3 weeks earlier, I had helped send my distant aunt to prison. She had tried to blackmail me, using the kindness of caring for my sick grandmother 20 years ago as leverage, demanding $50,000 for her boyfriend's new car. I had smiled as I dialed 911, reporting her extortion attempt. I thought that dealing with one blood-sucking relative would give me some peace and quiet. I never imagined that human shamelessness could continue to surprise me with new lows. I closed the door, shutting out the remaining echoes from the hallway. On my living room security monitor, I could clearly see Lily and my parents climbing into their silver Suburban, the vehicle speeding out of the apartment complex parking lot with indecent haste, merging into traffic and disappearing into the distance. Their retreating figures looked as carefree as if they had just shed an enormous burden. I swallowed the surge of anger rising in my chest. Rage wouldn't solve anything, but cold calculation and strategic retaliation certainly could. My childhood experience of being briefly placed with my grandparents, while my parents traveled, had left me with a bone-deep understanding of the word abandonment. That cold feeling of being dependent on others. Goodwill, the humiliation of being treated like a burden, remained a nightmare I never wanted to revisit. Now, my sister and parents were forcing Emma to relive my nightmare. I knelt down and gently wiped the tears from Emma's face, speaking in the softest voice I could manage. "Emma, don't be afraid. Aunt Iris is here." The child's small body continued to shake as she asked timidly, "Aunt Iris, did Mummy and Grandpa and Grandma decide they don't want me anymore?" That question pierced my heart like a knife. I touched her head gently. "They just need to receive a little education. They'll be back very soon." I settled Emma on the sofa, turned on Netflix to play Frozen, for her, then took my phone and walked into my bedroom. I didn't hesitate for a moment. My first call was to 911. When the line connected, I used the most calm and clear tone possible to recount the entire incident. I need to report an incident. The address is 285 Commonwealth Avenue, apartment 12B in Back Bay. My sister Lily Vale and my parents Knox Vale and Cora Vale are involved in abandoning her 6-year-old daughter Emma. The child is currently at my home, and they have driven away toward Colorado. Their license plate is Massachusetts ABC 1234, a silver Suburban. I have surveillance footage of them forcing the child on me, as well as text message records where she notified me that Emma is all yours. The operator was clearly surprised by my clear statement and complete chain of evidence, immediately confirming that officers would be dispatched right away. After hanging up, I called the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families 24-hour hotline and repeated the same information. Having completed these calls, I felt the tightness in my chest begin to ease. I am not a saint, and I am certainly not a free daycare service. If you dare to dump a child on me like garbage, don't blame me when you face the iron fist of the law. By the time I emerged from the bedroom, state police officers were already at my door. 2 uniformed state troopers entered, and I showed them each piece of evidence, the surveillance video, screenshot of text messages. One by one, the older officer, Rodriguez, looked at the complete chain of evidence and nodded at me with approval in his eyes. "Ma'am, you did exactly the right thing, and you acted quickly. Your understanding of the law is impressive. You've protected this child and taught these irresponsible family members an important lesson." The younger trooper immediately reported the situation through his radio. "We'll contact Interstate Patrol and Colorado State Police immediately to intercept the target vehicle." Watching their efficient response, I felt completely calm inside. After the police left, I found Emma a clean t-shirt of mine to use as pajamas and ran her a warm bath. In the steamy bathroom, her tense little body gradually relaxed in the warm water. I dried her hair and held her on the bed while telling her the story of the ugly duckling. As I told the story, Emma fell asleep in my arms, tears still clinging to her long eyelashes. I gently placed her on the bed and tucked her in. Looking at her peaceful, innocent face as she slept, I felt no emotional turmoil whatsoever. In fact, I felt a subtle sense of anticipation. I was looking forward to tomorrow and what was certain to be a very unpleasant reunion. At 11 that night, my phone rang. It was Officer Rodriguez calling. "We've intercepted them at the first rest stop in Connecticut. Our colleagues conducted a preliminary interview with them, and now they're being escorted back. We expect them to arrive first thing tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, we'll bring them to your home for an on-site mediation session. Would that be convenient for you?" "Convenient," I replied without hesitation. "Very convenient indeed." The next morning at 8 o'clock, my door was pounded with enough force to shake the entire frame, as if someone intended to tear it down completely. I calmly finished the last sip of my latte before walking over to open the door. Standing outside were my sister Lily and parents Knox and Cora, all wearing expressions of fury and exhaustion, accompanied by Officer Rodriguez and another state trooper who had escorted them back. Lily sported enormous dark circles under her eyes, with bloodshot veins that looked ready to burst. The moment she saw me, all the rage she had accumulated overnight erupted. Despite the state police presence, she pointed directly at my nose and launched into a tirade. "Iris, you crazy woman, you old maid, you freak who can't get married. What business is it of yours that we went to Colorado? What right did you have to call the police? Answer me." Her voice was shrill and piercing, echoing through the quiet hallway. My father Knox stood behind her like a mindless echo, adding his support. "Exactly. We had hotel reservations and plane tickets, a 5-star resort in Aspen. Do you know how expensive that was? $15,000 vacation. You ruined everything with one phone call. He gestured wildly as he spoke, his face contorting with a mixture of pain and malice. You have to compensate us for our losses, every single cent. Lily screamed, her spittle nearly reaching my face. I said nothing, maintaining a perfectly neutral expression. I simply crossed my arms and leaned casually against the doorframe, my gaze ice cold, as if watching a crude and vulgar circus performance. My silence seemed to enrage her further. Like a mad lioness, Lily shrieked and lunged toward me, attempting to push me. I am going to tear that dead expression off your face today. Officer Rodriguez, standing behind her, reacted quickly and grabbed her arm. Miss Vale, please calm yourself. This is a public space. Watch your behavior. Officer Rodriguez's voice wasn't loud, but it carried an undeniable authority. He seemed almost amused by this family's shamelessness, with a hint of mockery at the corner of his mouth. You abandon your own 6-year-old daughter, get legally intercepted, and instead of reflecting on your mistakes, you have the audacity to demand compensation. His words hit like a bucket of ice water, instantly dousing Lily's arrogant flames. Officer Rodriguez slowly pulled out a legal information sheet from his folder and held it in front of me. He pointed to a specific section and read it aloud, word by word, for their benefit. Let me educate you about the law. Massachusetts Child Protection Act Section 51 clearly states that no person shall willfully abandon, neglect, or harm a minor. You forcibly transferred custody of your 6-year-old daughter to another person without the guardian's consent, then disappeared. You had clear intent to abandon and shirk your guardianship responsibilities, and you objectively committed an act of abandonment. This constitutes factual abandonment. In severe cases, this carries criminal liability. The maximum sentence is 10 years imprisonment. The words criminal liability struck like 4 heavy hammers, pounding into the hearts of Lily and my parents. Lily's face instantly turned pale as death. Her previous arrogance evaporated completely as she stammered a defense. We didn't abandon her. I just wanted her to stay at Iris's place for a few days. We're sisters, isn't helping each other what family does. Officer Rodriguez laughed coldly and shot back, staying over. Is that what you call this? Showing up unannounced and forcing a child on someone. Leaving without the other person's consent, sending a text notification and driving away. Miss Vile, your definition of staying over is quite unique. Each word cut through her false rhetoric like a precise surgical blade. My father Knox's legs went completely weak, and he looked at me while bowing repeatedly, his voice taking on a pleading tone. Iris, we're sorry, we were wrong, we didn't think it through. Please be the bigger person and don't hold this against us. We'll never do it again. My mother Cora stood beside him crying, but she never spoke, only looking at me with a complex expression that mixed guilt with resentment. Officer Rodriguez cleared his throat and announced the resolution. According to relevant provisions of Massachusetts family law, for abandoning a dependent person who lacks the ability to live independently, first-time offenders may be subject to fines or community service. Given that you are first-time offenders and no serious consequences resulted, the authorities have decided to fine you $3,000 and enter this incident in your personal integrity record. Additionally, you must complete 60 hours of mandatory parenting education courses, organized by the Boston Family Services Center to learn how to fulfill your guardianship responsibilities. If there is a next time, we will directly petition the court to revoke your guardianship rights. Fines, permanent records, mandatory classes. Each punishment felt like a massive stone crushing down on Lily's heart. Her precious luxury Colorado trip had become a complete bubble, and she had brought nothing but trouble upon herself. She rolled her eyes back, her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the cold floor, throwing a tantrum and wailing dramatically. "This isn't fair. One phone call is going to destroy our whole family. I don't want to live anymore." I watched her pathetic performance with a cold smile. This was just the beginning. The real show was yet to come. The mediation ended with Lily and her family signing the disciplinary decision with complete humiliation. I thought they would finally calm down after this, but I clearly underestimated Lily's capacity for holding grudges and her shamelessness. That very evening, the residents' group chat in my apartment building exploded with activity. An account I didn't recognize posted a heart-wrenching essay with an extremely provocative title. "My sister personally sent me to jail and destroyed my daughter's dream vacation." I clicked to read it and nearly laughed out loud from sheer indignation. She and my parents became hard-working, penny-pinching family members who only wanted to broaden Emma's horizons. That $15,000 luxury Colorado trip was portrayed as Emma's heart's desire since she was 3 years old. Meanwhile, Iris Vale, a 28-year-old independent designer, was cast as a malicious single woman who was jealous of their happy family life. She wrote, "We just wanted my sister to help watch Emma for a few days. She lives alone and we thought having a child around would bring some liveliness to her life. Who knew she would agree to our faces then stab us in the back? Just because our life is happier than hers. She wanted to destroy us." My daughter cried all day when she came home, asking me why the nice people in Aspen wouldn't let her visit. How do I explain to her that it was because of one cold-hearted sister who shattered her dream vacation with a single phone call? This essay was written with convincing emotion, completely twisting the truth while being highly manipulative. Immediately, some naive neighbors who didn't know the real story jumped into the group chat. "Oh well, blood is thicker than water. What is wrong with helping out a little? Young people these days are getting so cold-hearted." Exactly. Such a small thing, was it really necessary to call the police? Ruining their entire trip like that is so unreasonable. I've seen this Iris before. She stays home working all the time, looks antisocial. Probably has personality problems. Soon, the group chat filled with more and more pointing fingers and criticism directed at me. My phone also started receiving text messages from unknown numbers, all containing insults and accusations. "Cold-blooded animal. Can't stand to see others happy." I sat on my sofa with no expression, watching the malicious comments rolling across my phone screen. I felt annoyed, but more than anything, I felt disdain. Arguing with people who operate on a completely different cognitive level is a waste of life. I didn't reply to a single comment in the group chat. Instead, I took screenshots of Lily's essay and all the neighbors' supportive comments, saving them all. Then I found the contact information for Mrs. Thompson, a neighbor I had a good relationship with, and sent her the complete surveillance video, my text message conversation with Lily, and photos of the administrative penalty decision issued by the state police. Mrs. Thompson was a warm-hearted retired teacher who couldn't stand this kind of truth-twisting behavior. Less than 5 minutes later, she spoke up in the residents' group chat. "At everyone. Don't be so quick to take sides. The situation might be different from what Lily described. I have complete evidence provided by our neighbor Iris that everyone should look at." Mrs. Thompson posted the evidence in the group chat, and the chat fell silent for a few seconds. But soon Lily switched to another account and began crying again, claiming the surveillance was taken out of context and that I had deliberately set a trap for her. Her tears and tantrums quickly drowned out Mrs. Thompson's rational voice. She had reclaimed the battlefield of public opinion once again. I turned off my phone and forced myself to calm down. Online flame wars were meaningless. I needed to find a more powerful weapon. I began carefully reviewing the entire incident. especially Lily's repeated emphasis on that $15,000 luxury trip. We were sisters, so I knew something about her financial situation. Her husband Brandon worked as a sales representative at a small insurance company, earning no more than $5,000 a month. Lily was a stay-at-home mom with no steady income. They were still paying mortgages and car loans. How could she possibly afford a spontaneous luxury trip worth $15,000? I recalled that yesterday morning when my parents and Lily mentioned Aspen, their eyes didn't show genuine anticipation for travel. It looked more like desperation to show off and put gold on their own faces. Just then, a forgotten detail suddenly flashed through my mind. Last night, when I was putting Emma to sleep, the little girl drowsily said something to me. She said, "Mommy said that when we go to Colorado this time and meet an uncle, we'll be able to move to a big house." At the time, I thought it was just innocent child talk, and didn't think deeply about it. But now, connecting this statement with the $15,000 luxury trip, a terrible and absurd suspicion slowly formed in my mind. This so-called luxury trip wasn't a family vacation at all. Behind it might be hiding something much dirtier and more despicable. This suspicion sent chills down my spine, but it also made my previously wavering resolve become absolutely firm. Lily, Knox Cora, your game has just begun. When the public opinion war in the residents' chat proved ineffective, Lily clearly wasn't willing to give up. She began using even more despicable tactics. The next afternoon, while I was rushing to finish an outdoor advertising design at the company, our receptionist Jessica called me in a panic. "Iris, this is terrible. You need to come downstairs and see. There are several people with banners outside your company, causing a scene, calling you out by name." My heart sank as I walked to the window and looked down. In the busy Copley Square Plaza below our company building, Lily and my parents were holding a glaring white banner with a crooked line of red paint that read, "Unscrupulous designer Iris Vale, jealous of family maliciously called police, drove our family to ruin." Lily sat on the ground, slapping her thighs and wailing dramatically, while Knox and Cora distributed printed copies of her artistically embellished essay to the gathering crowd of onlookers. A circle of curious bystanders had already formed, pointing and whispering about our company building. Soon, my colleagues also noticed the commotion downstairs and crowded around the windows to watch the spectacle, casting glances at me filled with gossip, speculation, and strangeness. My department supervisor, a face-conscious middle-aged man in his 40s named Mr. Miller, called me into his office with a dark expression. "Iris," he pulled down the blinds, blocking the view from outside, his tone extremely unpleasant. "What is going on downstairs? This incident is seriously damaging the company's image. You need to go down and handle this immediately. If necessary, apologize to them and get them to leave." Apologize? Why should I apologize? I suppressed the anger surging in my chest and spoke to my supervisor in an unusually calm voice. "Mr. Miller, please give me 10 minutes. I don't need to apologize. But I need you and several colleagues to witness something for me." My composure seemed to surprise him. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I returned to my workstation, took out my phone, and connected it to the conference room projector via data cable. Then, I invited Mr. Miller and several colleagues I had good relationships with into the conference room. On the large screen, I opened the first file. It was the surveillance video from the hallway outside my apartment. The footage clearly recorded how Lily forcibly pushed Emma toward me, then fled at lightning speed. My colleagues let out suppressed gasps of shock. Next, I displayed my text message conversation with Lily, that sentence, "We're off. Emma is all yours," and the photo of hands on the steering wheel, displayed glaringly in the center of the screen. Then came the police report, the call record with Child Protective Services. and the administrative penalty decision issued by state police with its bright red official seal. The chain of evidence was complete, clear, and irrefutable. The conference room fell dead silent, everyone shocked speechless by this reversal. In front of everyone, I put my phone on speaker and dialed Officer Rodriguez. Officer Rodriguez, hello, this is Iris Vale. Sorry to bother you, but I am having some trouble. The family members who abandoned Emma are now outside my company with banners, defaming me for maliciously calling police. Could you please, in your official capacity, briefly explain yesterday's situation to my supervisor and colleagues? Officer Rodriguez on the other end was indignant. This is outrageous. This family is completely lawless. Mr. Miller, is that right? Hello, I am Officer Rodriguez with the Massachusetts State Police. I can responsibly tell you that Miss Iris's actions throughout this incident were entirely reasonable and legal, representing commendable civic duty. The Vale family did indeed commit child abandonment, and our state police have issued administrative penalties and mandatory parenting education. Their current behavior constitutes disturbing the peace and malicious defamation, and we can dispatch officers to handle it at any time. Officer Rodriguez's firm and powerful voice echoed through the quiet conference room. My colleagues' expressions toward me shifted from initial gossip to shock, then sympathy, and finally to contempt and anger toward Lily's family. Mr. Miller's face went from dark to green, from green to white, and finally to a liver-colored mixture of embarrassment and regret. He cleared his throat twice and said to me, Iris, well, we understand the situation now. You should go home and handle this private matter. Don't worry about the company side. Our legal department will immediately issue a statement supporting your right to seek justice through legal channels. I had achieved my purpose. When I walked out of the company building, I saw Lily still throwing her tantrum on the ground, while Knox and Cora continued enthusiastically distributing flyers. I ignored them completely and took a taxi home. I called my lawyer friend and discussed in detail how to sue Lily for defamation. The lawyer told me the evidence was sufficient, and the chances of winning were very good. After hanging up, half of the anger in my chest finally dissipated. But this half was nowhere near enough. That evening, I postponed all my design projects and locked myself in my studio. I drank coffee cup after cup while my stylus flew across the digital tablet. I drew the entire incident as a series of comic strips, from Lily pressing my doorbell to her being intercepted by state police, then demanding compensation at my door, spreading lies in the residents' chat, and today's banner incident outside my company. I had studied art for over 10 years, and my specialty was telling stories through images and conveying emotions through details. Under my pen, Lily's hypocrisy, Knox and Cora's cowardice, Emma's helplessness, and my calm retaliation all came to vivid life. The comic style was sharp and realistic, with every panel based on factual evidence I had in hand. I titled this comic series, My Toxic Family, You Abandoned Kid. I Call Police. In the final panel, I gave a close-up of Lily's hideous face as she threw her tantrum outside my company, with a line of ice-cold text beside it. You think this is the end? No, the story has just begun. At 4 in the morning, looking at the completed comic series, I let out a long breath of relief. Lily, you like playing public opinion wars, don't you? Fine then. I'll play a big game with you. Let me show you what it means to truly go viral nationwide. When the first rays of morning sunlight streamed into my studio, I published the comic series I had worked on all night to my Instagram account, which had 100,000 followers. I didn't add much emotional text, simply stating the facts and adding one sentence at the end. All content below is supported by video, audio recordings, screenshots, and state police documents. I take full legal responsibility for every word and every stroke I have drawn. After completing this, I turned off my phone, drew the curtains, and fell into bed for a deep sleep. I needed to catch up on sleep because I knew that when I woke up again, the world would be turned upside down. At 3 in the afternoon, I was awakened by the continuous vibration of my phone. When I opened my phone, notification messages from various apps instantly flooded the screen. My comic series had gone viral. The share count had exceeded 50,000 in just a few hours, and thousands of comments poured into the comment section. OMG, this family opened the door to insanity and walked right in. Absolutely unbelievable. My heart breaks for Emma and for the blogger. What era are we living in where such entitled behavior still exists? The blogger did exactly the right thing. This is how you deal with these parasites. The police interception part was so satisfying. Support the blogger seeking justice. The comic's realistic details, sharp artistic style, and highly dramatic story conflict quickly spread virally across the internet. Number family abandonment in Boston. Number my toxic family number teaching parental lesson-related hashtags began trending on Twitter one after another. Internet users transformed into digital detectives with frightening efficiency. Based on the clues exposed in my comic and various information Lily had revealed in the residents' chat, they quickly tracked down her Instagram, Facebook, and other social media accounts. Family goals finally heading to Aspen, thanks to my amazing husband's surprise. This was what she posted on Instagram before leaving, with a poorly photoshopped hotel reservation screenshot. Sharp-eyed users immediately pointed out that the confirmation number in the screenshot didn't match the official St. Regis Aspen format at all. Others discovered that Lily's account followed numerous accounts like How to Marry Rich, Sugar Baby Lifestyle, and Making Men Pay for Everything. Her carefully crafted persona crumbled instantly under this mountain of evidence. Knox's insurance company was also exposed by angry internet users. The company website's comment section was instantly overwhelmed, and their phone lines crashed from the volume of calls. Under pressure, Knox's company issued an emergency statement that afternoon, stating that Knox's behavior was personal and unrelated to the company, expressing strong condemnation of his irresponsible actions, and announcing they would take serious disciplinary action according to internal policies. Lily's family phone numbers, home address, and other personal information were also leaked and spread across various social media groups. Though this was certainly not my doing. Their lives overnight descended into complete chaos and disgrace. Those neighbors who had previously spoken up for Lily now remained completely silent, with several even privately messaging me with weak sorry messages. I didn't reply to any of them. If apologies worked, what would we need police for? I simply watched the continuously refreshing messages in the group chat with an ice-cold heart. When an avalanche occurs, no single snowflake is innocent. The development of this situation exceeded everyone's expectations. The resourceful internet users, while exposing Lily and Knox, followed the trail and also uncovered the so-called entrepreneur, Tyler Morrison. What they discovered was shocking. This Tyler wasn't an entrepreneur at all. He was the leader of an online fraud gang. This gang specialized in targeting women like Lily on various social platforms, vain, materialistic, and reasonably attractive. They used the persona of successful businessmen and money as bait, luring these women to other locations under the guise of companionship and relationships. Their real purpose wasn't physical relationships, but to use these women to conduct precision fraud against their families. They would entice these women and their family members to invest in fabricated, high-return investment projects. Lily and Knox were their latest victims. Not only did they receive no money, but Knox, under Lily's persuasion, invested tens of thousands of dollars borrowed from relatives and friends into the supposed investment project. Complete loss. My exposé had accidentally torn open a corner of a massive fraud network. Soon, the FBI, using clues provided by internet users and my evidence, tracked down and arrested Tyler and his entire gang in Colorado. After the case was solved, the FBI Boston Division's official Twitter account issued a statement, specifically thanking Boston citizen Miss Iris Vale for providing crucial leads at the end. Because of this unexpected contribution, I even received a reward from the FBI for the tip. This became the final straw that broke Lily. The court's verdict came quickly. Lily was sentenced to 8 months in prison for defamation and ordered to publicly apologize to me in the Boston Globe while paying $15,000 in damages for emotional distress. She and Knox were separately sentenced to 18 months and 1 year of supervised probation for child abandonment. Additionally, because she was an accomplice in the online fraud case, having actively encouraged relatives to invest, with multiple crimes combined, she faced an extensive prison sentence. My mother Cora, due to her passive role in the entire incident, was only sentenced to community service. Emma's custody was, without question, awarded to her grandparents. On the day of the trial, I testified in court as a witness, recounting the entire sequence of events. Looking at Lily and Knox in the defendant's box, haggard and desperate, I felt completely calm inside, without even the satisfaction of revenge. When the gavel fell, I felt only the relief of settling dust. I donated the entire $15,000 in damages the court awarded me to the Children's Protection Fund at Boston Children's Hospital in Emma's name. I hoped this world would have fewer children like Emma who were innocently harmed. A few days later, the grandparents came with Emma to say goodbye. They were taking Emma back to Ohio to start a new life. Before leaving, Emma hugged me tightly and whispered in my ear with her sweet voice, "Aunt Iris, thank you. You are like a superhero who defeated the bad guys." I touched her head, my eyes growing slightly moist. And superheroes will always protect the light. After the storm passed, my life returned to calm. Well, not entirely calm. Because of this incident, my Instagram account's followers skyrocketed to 1 million, and I unexpectedly became an influential positive energy blogger. Various justice-oriented commercial partnerships and design projects came flooding in, taking my career to new heights. I regularly receive text messages from the grandparents. They send me photos of Emma, telling me she has made good friends at her new school and received a Most Improved Student award on her midterm report. She has a neat short haircut and slightly tanned skin, but the smile on her face is more brilliant and bright than I've ever seen. On a sunny weekend, I sat in my sunlit studio with a pot of Earl Grey tea. I spread out a fresh sheet of drawing paper and picked up my brush. This time, I didn't draw sharp social commentary. I drew the story of a brave little girl and the superhero who always protected her. I had already decided on the title for this story. I would call it Light. 6 months later, on a crisp October morning, I was putting the finishing touches on my latest commission when my phone buzzed with an unexpected call from a number I didn't recognize. The caller ID showed it was from Ohio. "Miss Vale. This is Grace Chen, Emma's grandmother. I hope I am not disturbing your work." Her voice carried a warmth that immediately brought a smile to my face. "Mrs. Chen, of course not. How wonderful to hear from you. How is Emma doing?" "Oh, she is thriving, dear. That is actually why I am calling. Emma has been asking about you constantly, and we were wondering if you might consider visiting us for Thanksgiving. We know it is a big ask, but Emma has been working on something special for you, and we'd love to show you how well she is settling in." I set down my stylus and walked to the window, watching the autumn leaves dance in the wind. The invitation touched something deep in my heart that I hadn't expected. "I would be honored to visit," I replied. "Emma is a very special little girl." "There is something else," Mrs. Chen continued, her voice taking on a more serious tone. "We've been following the news about the fraud case you helped expose. The FBI contacted us last week to let us know that Tyler Morrison and his associates were sentenced to 15 to 20 years in federal prison. Apparently, your evidence was instrumental in their conviction. They said over 200 families were saved from financial ruin because of your actions. The magnitude of that number hit me like a wave. 200 families, 200 potential Emmas who might have suffered because of their parents' poor decisions. I am just glad something positive came from such an awful situation. I said softly. 3 weeks later, I found myself driving through the rolling hills of rural Ohio. My rental car loaded with art supplies and a carefully wrapped canvas I had painted specifically for Emma. The landscape was breathtaking in its autumn glory, with endless fields of golden corn and maple trees painted in brilliant oranges and reds. The Chen family home was a modest 2-story farmhouse with a wraparound porch and a tire swing hanging from an ancient oak tree. Before I could even turn off the engine, the front door burst open, and Emma came running toward me, her face radiant with joy. Aunt Iris, Aunt Iris. She launched herself into my arms with such enthusiasm that I nearly lost my balance. She had grown taller in the months since I'd seen her, and her hair had been styled into 2 neat braids tied with yellow ribbons. But most remarkably, the haunted look that had shadowed her eyes was completely gone, replaced by the bright confidence of a well-loved child. Emma, sweetheart, look at you. You look so happy and healthy, I said, kneeling to her level. Grandma and Grandpa take really good care of me, she beamed, and I have a best friend named Sarah, and I am in the school play, and I am learning to play the piano. Do you want to see my room? I decorated it all by myself. The grandparents emerged from the house, both looking years younger than when I had last seen them. Mr. Chen walked with a steadier gait, and Mrs. Chen's face glowed with the satisfaction of a woman who had found her purpose again. Iris, welcome to our home, Mr. Chen said, embracing me warmly. You don't know how much this visit means to all of us. The next few days unfolded like pages from a storybook I never knew I needed. Emma showed me every corner of her new world with the pride of a tour guide. Her room was indeed decorated by her own hand, with drawings covering nearly every wall. Most were typical child's artwork featuring rainbows and flowers, but several made my breath catch in my throat. One drawing showed a little girl standing next to a tall woman with dark hair, both figures surrounded by bright light. At the bottom, in Emma's careful handwriting, were the words "Aunt Iris, my hero." Another depicted a courtroom scene with remarkable accuracy for a 6-year-old. Stick figures sat behind a wooden barrier while a figure in a black robe held a gavel. The day the bad people got in trouble. Read the caption. Emma, these are incredible, I said, studying each drawing carefully. You have real artistic talent. Her chest puffed with pride. Grandma says I get it from you. She says you are the bravest person she ever met. That evening, after Emma had gone to bed, I sat on the front porch with Mr. and Mrs. Chen, sharing a pot of coffee and watching fireflies dance in the gathering dusk. We can never thank you enough for what you did, Mrs. Chen said quietly. Not just for Emma, but for opening our eyes to how badly we had failed as parents to our own daughter. Mr. Chen nodded gravely. We've been doing a lot of soul searching these past months. We realize now that we enabled Lily's entitled behavior from childhood. We always bailed her out, always made excuses for her poor choices. In trying to protect her from consequences, we turned her into someone who couldn't function in the real world. But Emma won't make those mistakes, Mrs. Chen added firmly. We're raising her to understand responsibility, kindness, and the value of hard work. She does age-appropriate chores, says please and thank you, and knows that actions have consequences. I sipped my coffee, thinking about the cycles that families perpetuate across generations. It takes real courage to break those patterns. Emma is lucky to have you. On my last morning, Emma presented me with her special project. With great ceremony, she led me to the living room where an easel held a canvas covered by a paint-splattered sheet. "I've been working on this since Grandma told me you were coming," she announced proudly, whipping away the sheet with a flourish. The painting took my breath away. Despite her young age, Emma had created something truly remarkable. It showed two female figures standing together under a starry sky. One tall and one small, both with their arms outstretched toward a bright moon. The brushstrokes were bold and confident, and she had somehow captured a sense of movement and joy that many adult artists struggle to achieve. "It is called protecting the light," Emma explained seriously. "Because that is what you did for me. And someday when I am grown up, I want to protect the light for other kids too." I had to excuse myself for a moment to compose myself in the bathroom, overwhelmed by the depth of this child's perception and resilience. When I returned, Mrs. Chen was wrapping the painting carefully in tissue paper. "She worked on it every day after school for 2 months. She said softly. Her art teacher at school says she has never seen natural talent like this in someone so young." As I prepared to leave, Emma clung to me with the fierce attachment of a child who had learned too early how precious stability could be. "Will you come back and visit again?" she asked, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "Wild horses couldn't keep me away," I promised. "And you know what? When you turn 18, if you want to go to art school, Aunt Iris is going to help make that happen." The drive back to the airport gave me time to process the profound changes in Emma and her grandparents. The healing that had taken place in their small Ohio farmhouse was remarkable, proof that love and consistency could overcome even the deepest wounds. Back in Boston, I threw myself into my work with renewed passion. Emma's painting hung in a place of honor in my studio, inspiring me daily. But more than that, her story had given me a new sense of purpose. I began volunteering with a local organization that provided art therapy for children in the foster care system. Many of these kids had stories similar to Emma's, abandoned or neglected by parents who prioritize their own desires over their children's needs. Working with these children, I discovered that art could be a powerful tool for healing. Through drawing and painting, they could express emotions they didn't have words for, process trauma in a safe environment, and begin to envision brighter futures for themselves. One afternoon, while helping a 9-year-old boy named Marcus paint a picture of his dream house, I received an unexpected email. The subject line read, "Thank you from a grateful mother in Seattle." The message was from a woman named Jennifer Parks, whose ex-husband had been part of Tyler Morrison's fraud network. She explained that my comic series had gone viral just as her ex-husband was trying to convince her to invest their daughter's college fund in Tyler's fake investment scheme. "Reading your story made me realize that something wasn't right about the whole situation," she wrote. "I showed the comics to my sister, who did some research and discovered Tyler's real identity. We contacted the FBI immediately. Not only did we avoid losing our money, but my ex-husband was arrested before he could recruit more victims. My daughter's college fund is safe, and more importantly, she is safe from her father's criminal influence. You saved our family's future." As I read Jennifer's message, I realized that Emma's observation had been more prophetic than I could have imagined. I had indeed become a kind of superhero, not through supernatural powers, but through the simple act of refusing to be a victim and fighting back against injustice. The ripple effects of standing up to Lily and Knox had spread far beyond my apartment building in Back Bay. By refusing to enable their irresponsible behavior, by documenting everything, and by pursuing legal consequences, I had inadvertently protected countless other families from similar predators. That evening, I started work on a new comic series. This one focused on the stories of recovery and resilience I was witnessing through my volunteer work. I wanted to show the world that children could overcome even the worst circumstances when given love, stability, and the chance to express themselves creatively. As I sketched the first panels, my phone buzzed with a text message from Emma. The grandparents had gotten her a phone for emergencies, and she had been sending me pictures of her latest artwork and updates about her school activities. This message contained a photo of a blue ribbon attached to a small canvas. The accompanying text read, "I won first place in the county art fair. Grandpa says it is because I learned from the best teacher in the world. Love you, Aunt Iris." I smiled as I saved the photo to my phone, then returned to my drawing tablet. Outside my studio window, the Boston skyline glittered in the darkness, full of millions of individual lights that somehow combined to create something beautiful and bright. Emma was right. I was protecting the light. And in doing so, I had discovered that the light was protecting me right back.